Welcome back everyone, Ronin here. Today I'm bringing you a comprehensive guide, or what at least I think about the overworld and what works. This is my second playthrough, and we're playing on Impossible. And so far my strategy's been working, so I'm figuring that if it's working on Impossible, it's gonna work for you on any difficulty. Let's just take a look at what seems to work. So I'm near the end game. I'm almost at the third faction. We'll start with the city map, and you have these 9 points here, these 9 nodes. Now I'm comparing these to, let's say, the satellites in Xcom 1. It feels and looks a lot like it, except they'll never leave you. Instead of leaving you, you get points built in this city Anarchy. So you'll start off with no ranks at all inside these squares. If it goes full red, you'll start building Anarchy points. But you can unlock these cooldowns that will help you either reduce the Anarchy, reduce the, I think it's unrest in a zone. So you can use this one, and depending on the ranking that you have by clicking on here and selecting one and then upgrading it using intel, you can unlock these cooldowns and use these cooldowns and improve them as you increase those ranks. For me right now, what I've been doing, I'm thinking maybe it's not right because now my Illyrium is through the roof, but I've been going and splitting these into thirds. So I have 3 technology, 3 finance, and 3 security. If anything, I would weigh the security higher. So maybe making 4 or maybe even 5 security in the future. Maybe 4 security, keep 3 here, and maybe only 2 technology. Because right now the Illyrium is way high. It's not a big deal because early game it kind of helped me. But I would definitely weigh the intel at the highest priority. Intel, then credits, then Illyrium. As long as you manage to get enough Illyrium to do your research. So my strategy at first was to just click here and pick one of these evenly, more or less, into every area. Because I can't see what unlocks these right now. But I know that one of them unlocks after I have like 4 rank 1s. And then another one unlocks when you have all of them rank 1. Then I think Dragnet unlocks when you have 1 rank 3. And this one is when you have all rank 1s everywhere, I believe. Well, let's see what they do. Vigilance. Now they're all on cooldown. It would take me too long to make them off cooldown because these all have turns or days. So it's 3 days before I can reuse this. You should want to make sure that you're able to use these efficiently. If I were to use Vigilance, right now because I'm at rank 3, it would reduce this by 3 or 4 points. If you only had a rank 1, it's only 1 or 2 points that it reduces the unrest. You want to make sure you maximize this on either a zone that's already red, or one of these zones that is, almost going to go to full 5 and cause you Anarchy. The second one, Quarantine, freezes it. So what would be best right now if I had them available, I could use Vigilance on this one. So I'm probably gonna go do this mission and then quarantine this one. Let's say, if they were all available. So that means that this one wouldn't go up, it would stay like this. This one would go down, and I wouldn't have to worry about it going red. And I'm gonna do this mission because the purple is a story mission. And I've told myself on the beginning that I would do every story mission as it's available. You can delay these as long as you're not going to lose to your Anarchy. On my first playthrough, I ignored these until the very last chance, and that allowed me to get more items. This symbol means that you're going to get an item, you're going to reduce the unrest by 2, and you get 40 credits. This one is 65 Illyrium, and I've been focusing on getting the items. So this would give me a plasma grenade. It's okay, I have other grenades. If this is going to be the first grenade you get, take it. But I have the acid grenade, incendiary grenade, gas grenade now. The plasma is probably the least useful one out of all of them. Then you have Dragnet. At first I didn't really understand Dragnet. Often enough you'll be given different missions. Yellow is your normal missions. Purple is your story missions. And there's a blue one that is like a side mission that you don't actually go do, you just respawn and come back. That is what Dragnet is for. And on Impossible, because I was struggling with this, and I found that Scavenger that shows up every 5 days. It's part of a blue mission, but then it's an item, like a secret shop, a black market. For me, I found that on my first playthrough, I got it right away, but I noticed I couldn't use it because you shop with intel. And intel is super important to get all of these to rank 3. If you want to get ahead of the Anarchy meter, you just get to rank 3 everywhere, and then you'll be good. So then after that intel, now I have everything to rank 3. The only thing intel is good for is the Scavenger. So I waited until I had Dragnet available, and I used this to take the Scavenger. So often enough, when you get a blue mission, you have a choice of 2 of them. So you can use the Dragnet to complete one, and I think you get about 40% of the reward. So you use Dragnet, it doesn't use a turn, and you have one, then you can go do the other one. And I would suggest focus again on intel, unless you have an immediate need for Illyrium or credits. And then you get Major Crimes. Once you unlock it, it removes 1 Anarchy point out of 14. Unless you're playing with the option that you have more Anarchy, but I don't think you need to. At rank 2 everywhere, it removes 2 points, and at rank 3, it removes 3 points every 5 days. At that point, you could probably have a zone that's red and ignore it. At one point during the playthrough, I actually reached, I think, level 10 in Anarchy, and within maybe 3 missions or 4 missions, I was able to bring it back down to, now we're at 3. Maybe it was even lower, it probably went back up. I haven't seen a problem with Anarchy that's caused any big problems right now, as long as you get on top of it with this strategy. Really, it's about prioritizing your missions. This is where it gets a bit complicated, and I'm unsure of the advice I'm about to give you. There seems to be a way to speed up the story missions. Right now I don't have one, but it'll be like a file folder. The file folder will show -1, -2. I don't know if it goes higher than -2. And it unlocks the story missions faster. Now right now I'm torn between what makes you change the gameplay of the story. Right now you have 3 factions you can choose from. And it's either the order in which you pick those factions affects those missions, or how fast you get to finish these missions. So right now I'm probably going to be finishing almost as fast as I can, and we'll see what happens to the 4th mission. Because I've had a lot of viewers on stream say, oh wait, this fight wasn't like that for me. And it's either the order in which you pick your factions, which means I'll do a 3rd playthrough and do the factions in a different order yet again, and see if that's really what makes the difference. Or it's how fast you do these missions. The very first time, I took my time and waited till the last minute. Right now, I've went almost as fast as possible, but I still prioritized items before prioritizing days. I'm not sure if on my 3rd playthrough, I'll just prioritize days. The problem with prioritizing days and making the story mission come faster is your characters may not level that fast. You'll run out of resources, you won't have enough. You might stay ahead of Anarchy that way, but then I won't have enough money to buy gear, may not have enough intel to go to the Scavenger, and Illyrium for research. That's about it in a nutshell on the Overworld, the city map. Just know that every turn is a day. Now, I've never used end day. I don't know why. That would be an option. Maybe you're just waiting. The only reason I would see is, let's say you have enough room here, you have enough space, and you're waiting for a soldier to be ready for a fight. Like for a story mission, like this is probably the last boss of this faction. It says take down the progeny. That's the faction. I may not have the characters I want here. So if I can't do it, this is why I should hard save here. If I can't do it, because right now on this playthrough, Terminal has not been leveled. She's just a filler character right now. For the rest of the Overworld, there's a bit more strategy. You'll start the game with 4 characters. If you did the tutorial, you have a set 4 that you're going to be using. Verge, Terminal, Cherub, which I call Chubby, and Godmother. Those are your 4 you're going to start with. After that, you're given choices as to who you want to bring. In my case, on the 2nd playthrough, I started without the tutorial, and basically what that does is it allows you to pick the 4 characters you want to start with. I started with Verge, Hatchworks, I think Terminal, Zephyr. I'll do a character guide after and give my opinions, because my opinion is actually currently changing on who is actually really good and who is kind of meh in the character creation or the character selection. Because I'm playing on Impossible, And there's certain factors in there that make it that certain characters are not as good as others. And I still haven't fully leveled 2 characters in the game on 2 playthroughs. Alright, the next step is assembly. This would be your research when you do your overworld. It's pretty simple. You don't have to put somebody here. You select the research you want to do. I don't have a tree breakdown to really help you. This is actually really oversimplified compared to other games or even early games in the series. Basically, I'd say my tactics have always been in XCOM games, and I've been criticized for it. Go armor first. I know that killing something makes it easier and you take less damage, but because your characters don't all use the same weapons, unless you line up that all your characters are using shotguns, all your characters are using assault rifles, and I don't think you can, because you can't switch their weapons. The classes come with their set weapons. Go for armor. They all wear the same armor. So you click one upgrade and then you buy it, then you have improved armor, and then you click the Masterworks armor. That would be what you need to rush, is the armor in this game. It'll keep your soldiers alive to the point that even now, I'm not even taking cover. Most times, I can stay in the open, and right now, to be honest, the faction that I'm fighting is mostly psionic enemies. Even if I'm in cover, they're still gonna hit me. So you guys have to play with the factions, depending on which faction you start with, but no matter what, going for armor is gonna help you. When you choose a faction, this is when you should be thinking which characters you should be bringing along to those factions. Mainly, for an example, is Patchworks. If you're gonna go fight the faction with a ton of robots, you're gonna want her on your team. But that'll be more or less about classes later. Then you have Spec Ops. Spec Ops are just like side missions that you never have to do. You just have to put somebody in them to do them. But depending on which level of side mission you do, your character has to be leveled to be able to do them. In the beginning, you may want to rush assembly, but because you don't have enough Illyrium, by putting a soldier here cuts the assembly time in half, I believe. It may not be fully worth it unless you have enough resources to rush that Masterworks armor or rush that gear. I would say until you get your second unlocked character, doing training will be your main focus. Spec Ops maybe even second, and assembly third, unless you have those resources. Now in Spec Ops, one thing that I really like, I've never done glad handing. I've never done glad handing. It gives you credits. I've not noticed that I needed that many credits. Just prioritize what you do end up buying. You don't need to buy everything, and that should set you up for success. Then you have legwork. This is probably my favorite, and I always do because intel is weighed way higher for strategy on the overworld. You need to do your legwork properly in this. So intel is definitely weighed higher, so I end up doing intel a lot more. It's also only 3 days as opposed to some of the later ones. In Illyrium, I've never done it. 20 Illyrium is negligible. I think you need 100 for the Masterworks armor, which you'll get. Like even now, you see I have 300 Illyrium. This is not needed. So do the legwork in the beginning, because then the more intel you have, the faster you can get ahead of the Anarchy meter. Sanctioned cooperation. The only reason I'm doing this right now is because the Scavenger gives me free gear, and some of that gear is worth more than 120 or whatever. In the 5 days that she'll be here, I get more value than legwork, only if I find an epic item or something that's really high value. And right now it's either a toss-up between sanctioned cooperation and that, just because it's for the Scavenger. But I have no more use of intel anyway. It's just for the Scavenger at this point. Humanitarian aid can help you with the unrest because it reduces unrest on all of the 9 zones. If you're noticing you're kind of falling behind, then yeah, do humanitarian aid. You can also research in the assembly to have 2 people do these to cut down the time that they're stuck here. But I would argue that training is more important than being here. Then you have recruitment drive. This can help you get a free field team, but being at 5 days, unless your field teams are costing you more than 120, or let's say 5 days, not 3, it costs you more than 100, then yes, do recruitment drive. If you're still to the point where your field teams are costing you less than 100, then the 3 days would make more sense here, because it's basically 20 per day, and you'll get this faster. So by getting it faster and earlier, you can still be upgrading the field teams without having to use recruitment drive. So this would be more of an end game thing, not an early game, because if you use that free field team on something that costs 80, you're wasting days. You're not being efficient. This is why legwork is still very good, because you also get intel from missions. And those 3 days, let's say you get out, and because you have intel from another source, you can still get your field teams earlier than with recruitment drive. Crisis management, I have used on this one maybe once or twice. Reduces the anarchy by 3. I believe this to be kind of huge and very necessary on impossible. I haven't played on normal. I'm not sure how that would factor in. If you notice that you're getting around, let's say, 8, 9 anarchy, then you may want to clip this in for a few turns, because no matter if you get more intel or not, it may not save you from the anarchy meter, because if it reaches 14, that's it. You're game over. You're done from the overworld tactic. Star initiative, I've never used. More XP might be good for the next 5 missions. 5 days, not missions, sorry. You get a mission every second day. Mostly it's every second day, because you get a blue mission, and then you'll get a normal mission. So for the most part, you don't really care for this, because it's only going to be for 1, if you're lucky, 2 missions for 20 more XP. But I don't see the XP meter, so I have not needed this unless you're trying to level somebody late game. Let's say it's your 8th character that you unlock. I think it's during the second faction you get your 8th character, because you haven't been lucky with your picks, and you may want to level that person, sure, but I think this is kind of a waste unless you're really rushing to finish the earliest in-game possible for this. And then training. The reason you want to get on this early in the game is because the very first time you put them through training, they get plus 2 HP. That can be pretty huge in the beginning. It might mean saving from scars. Now, I don't fully understand how scars work. Sometimes I get hit once, I get a scar. I usually expect that when my character goes down and I stabilize them to get a scar. That's almost 100% guarantee. But in the beginning you get 2 HP. As you level, you unlock new things. So by unlocking new things as you level, you want to stay up on that training. So as soon as you get that 5th character, start cycling all your characters in there. And start with the lower HP ones so they have a better chance of survival. And right now he's going to get heavy ordnance. I'm not sure what that means, but once he's out of this after the next mission, actually, we're not saving, so let's see. I just end day. This is a good way to do things. He's already learned his heavy ordnance. He's done with his training. Now you'll notice that most of my characters are already fully leveled. I don't have anyone that needs training right now. Doesn't mean that Terminal doesn't need training. She's not high enough level to unlock the next training. And if you get a wound, just send your soldiers in here to get that wound gone. You need to remove those wounds. So I have no one to add to the training. The second training is not mandatory, but having the second one really allows you to keep up with everybody being as skilled as possible. Let's check out the loadout real quick and see what that means. So heavy ordnance. So I get a bonus use to a grenade. Now I'm curious with him because that means on the first mission he can get 2 grenades, and then because he has improvised explosive, he regenerates it every encounter. Now I haven't tried it. I'm not sure if that means that every encounter he can have 2 grenades. That makes him a bit OP. I like it. I wasn't a fan of Claymore before because I never leveled him. Now I'm starting to like him because he can do a ton of guaranteed damage. That's the beauty of the explosives and the skills. His skills don't miss. But this could be like not just explosive damage. It could just be the bubble grenade, for example. But we'll cover items after. So this is your loadout screen where you can check on your characters, see if they have wounds, see what their skills are, see about leveling them. Like she's not fully leveled either. Once she unlocks this, it says right here, new training unlocks at this rank. So you have to level them to those milestones to be able to get the unlock for the next one. So it's not just about unlocking this skill, it's about doing the training after so that they're very efficient. He's gonna get another one in like 3-4 days. I'm not sure what it does, but I'm curious now. Alright, items. I'll do a separate guide for this. There's a ton of items in here. Just know that once you do your assembly, your research, this is where you make them. It'll cost you money. You can find all of these on the map if you pay attention. See, like the other missions went away. There's an outbreak. Now this is the blue mission that I mentioned earlier. You can find these when it shows that item with the cone, the box with the cone, then that's where you can just see what item you'll get before you select a mission. Investigations, I have no idea. I never use this menu. It shows you it shows you every so often, and you'll get given a dark event. Just pick the dark event that you feel you can handle best. If it says all enemies are gonna have extra armor, and you don't think you can handle the extra armor, then pick the other one. You're always given 2 choices for these dark events at every faction. This is what I meant with the path and the possible 3 different endings, maybe. I'm not sure if that's going to change the endings or just change how the factions react to you. And this keeps track of how fast I was able to complete this. So I think it takes about 3 months to get through the game. Yeah, it starts in 1st of March. I finished this one mid-April. So it's pretty quick because March, April, I'm going to finish within a month and a half. Which I expect it to be more like 90 days, but I think it affects something by the end. I think to get maybe the best ending, if there is such a thing, I think you have to just do it as fast as possible to really foil the Overwatching faction. Alright, I think that's it for the Overworld per se. Other than talking about items and talking about the classes themselves, I think I'll have to do that in a different video and having a different playthrough, because I still have to level Axiom and Godmother. Without having those 2 leveled, I can't really talk about how good or how bad they are. Right now, my worst and least favorite character is Axiom. But maybe you guys can tell me something different, why you like him. Right now, I just don't like him because he's too RNG. He doesn't hit stuff. He misses too often. But I do like that he could be a good breach character, because when he breaches, he makes people panic. And that could make a big difference if they panic and start shooting each other, or avoid shooting you altogether. Let me know what you think. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'll keep working on these throughout this week. Cheers, everyone. Take care.